Well, last time together we were starting to do the rocker assembly for these coaches, and that's what actually allows them to sit on the leather straps called the throw braces on the undercarriage. So they don't move a lot side to side. There's some movement that way, but the majority of movement is back and forth, just like a boat is on the water. Just kind of sits there and floats. It's a lot more comfortable than a steel spring suspension that is pretty much just strictly up and down. So I thought I'd just kind of tuck up a piece of 1/4-inch plywood in behind and see if I can get a pattern made what these rockers actually need to be like. So between these two stands that the rockers actually bolt up to, if we follow the contour of the body, the main floorboard is pretty straight. So I'm thinking the bottom of the rocker will be straight as well. This will give me the curve that I need when I'm finished. I'm going to match these irons here. This front iron doesn't come out to where it is level here. It's still headed downhill. So I'm going to continue that curve for a bit before I actually transition to being straight. The one in the back is a little closer to level, not quite. I'll drop it down just a bit too. And somewhere in here to the front we should transition to being flat. We'll see what kind of a pattern we can get made from that. So this 1/4-inch plywood is a piece of paneling that I took out of that Smith Hotel that I'm working on. Good use for patterns. So if we go straight in between what I've got drawn, I came down to there and down to here. And we begin this transition to the top. So these ends get tapered down to 3/4 of an inch, but I'm going to start out with 1.5 inches all the way through. Well, the question is, how close are we? Not bad there. I might be a little thick, but this is just a pattern. And down to this end. Not too bad, maybe a little different angle here. Some of the taper might start right back in here as I fit that. And we can work with this taper through this material here. That might help us get our form made where I can maybe do some bending. So we're supposed to be 1.5 inches when we're finished. I'm kind of wondering if I should maybe bend 1 5/8 inches. I've even considered 1 3/4 inches. Because I'm going to have to overbend to allow for the spring back, and all this is just going to be by guessing by golly. But if I have it 1 3/4 inches by 2.5 inches, it would allow me some room to fit this in and actually get it a little closer. My bending press will definitely bend 1 3/4 inches. That's not a problem. So on this 8-passenger, these metal irons that come to the outside of the rocker, they have a different shape than that 11. So maybe I should make those first to try to figure out just what pattern I need for this one. So I've got these bolted up on this 8 to where I think they're supposed to go, and I'm using it largely because I have the frame of an 8-passenger. And so I'm looking at these mounting holes here for the placement of these irons, and this one up here. Then similar in the rear, using the placement irons here to place this. This is in conjunction with the upright. So I think we're kind of in that ballpark. And that plywood panel, remember I had written down that it wants to be 58.5. So I went from this corner to this corner here and placed that distance there at 58.5. So even if this shifts a little bit either direction, our overall length should be pretty close. So my curiosity was, how close is it to the rocker and the bend off of that 11-passenger? So when I put my pattern up there, I think we fit really close in the front. And since it's too long, if I pull it forward and check it against the back, I think that curve is really close as well. So the big difference is length. So I've got another piece of 1/4-inch plywood here, and it's extra long, so I'm going to mark it off at that 58.5. Use my middle that is flat and bring this up to my 58.5 end marks. And shift it down to the other end. Hopefully this is going to be the pattern for the 8. I think that's actually going to work out pretty decent. With these irons having a little different shape from the 11 from my plywood pattern, I wasn't totally confident the ends would be the same. But I think that's going to work. Well, actually making the patterns is the easy part. I need to make the forms to bend these on, and I'm going to have to over bend them a bit, whether I go twice as far, which I think I'll probably do, because it's going to relax back. Well, I went to town and I picked up two 4x6s. And since we're dealing with softwoods and not hardwoods, a 4x6 is actually only 3.5 by 5.5. So I need these to be 2.5 inches wide, so I need 5 inches in width. I'm going to take a 2x6 and screw to the edge of this, which will give me my 5-inch width. So I want to over bend these. We start to go flat about here, and I'd like to do maybe twice the bend. So I'm going to do kind of a gradual over bend in that area there. So when I bend it up that far, when I take it off the form, it's going to relax. And maybe something similar on the other end as well. And the same for my 11 passenger. So I have our patterns marked front because there is a little bit difference. Remember, I had 5 inches of rise in the front and 4 in the back. So I have these marked front and rear, and I'm also going to mark these front and rear. I think that's going to give me my overbend, at least I'm hoping. It's easier to straighten out something that is overbent than to add more bend to something that is underbent. So I'd rather go too far than not enough. Hopefully that's enough. So this is my plan of attack. Once I get to going, I don't have much time to explain what I'm going to do. So I try to think ahead of what's going to happen. I don't always get it, but I try to. So when I bring my piece in, my first piece is for the 11 passenger, and it's 86 inches long. My forms are 96 because they're 8 feet. So that 10-inch difference, I split it with two 5-inch blocks on the end, and I want to keep that as tight to the ends as I can. If I have to shim that out, I have some 1/8-inch shims here that I can kind of take up that space. I brought some extra pipe clamps over here, and I'd like to put a pipe clamp on either side where it is still flat to keep it from bowing away. And then I'm going to turn this thing on and bring it up. I've got some extra pipe clamps here that I may have to put some clamps on the ends as it's coming up. I don't really know. I'll just kind of play it by ear what happens. So when I get up about so far and I've got to turn off my bending machine, I've got a couple of come-alongs here, and I'm going to hook my ends and bring my come-along across to try to keep those ends up with these clamps. That's why I put this bar here to where I have something to stop that clamp from sliding, because I'd like to clamp that tight to the ends, and it'll be clamped in the middle. And with my coming along across the top, it should hold that in place. Then I'm going to take these leg bolts out, and I'll put my form in for the 8 passenger. We'll see how it goes. Well, we're bent. I have a little irregularity on that first bend for the 11, so we'll kind of see how that turns out. But I'm going to let these set for normally 24 hours. I'm going to let them set for probably a few days. Got to come back and see how it turns out. Appreciate you coming along. Thanks for watching.